Students, what we covered is midsem 1 syllabus. What is the midsem 1 syllabus? Unit 1 and Unit 2. We covered Unit 1 up to now. Unit 1 contains two chapters, logarithms and partial fractions. We covered both logarithms and partial fractions. Today we are going to start Unit 2, that is matrices and determinants. So this is a Unit 2 big chapter. Only unit 2, only one chapter, that matrices and determinants. And after completion, I think in December first week we are going to have a midsem 1 exam on first 2 units. Okay, so let us start the matrices and determinants by using definitions and types of matrices. So matrices and determinants. First of all, definition of a matrix. Definition of a matrix. Arrangement of numbers into rows and columns is called matrix. So what is a matrix, guys? You have to arrange the numbers into rows. These are the rows. Into rows. And these are the columns. Into columns. Rows and columns. Arrangement of numbers into rows and columns is called matrix. By using, you can see what letter I used, capital A. So matrices generally are denoted by capital letters, capital A, capital B, capital C, capital X, capital Y, capital J, like that. And matrices, not one matrices are enclosed in square brackets or open bracket. So you can write matrix in a square bracket, or you can write in an open bracket. And the next definition, number of rows and columns present in the matrix is called size or order of the matrix. Order or size of the matrix. So number of rows in this matrix, you see there are 2 rows, 3 columns, 2 rows, 3 columns. Then order of A is 2 by 3. How we read it as 2 by 3. 2 by 3 means 2 rows, 3 columns. Order of a matrix which contains 2 rows and 3 columns, we call it as 2 by 3. It is a 2 by 3. Are you getting? So one more point I want to tell you here is, so here I written A11. A11 means the element belongs to the first row and first column. First row and first column. A12 means it belongs to first row, second column. A13 means first row, third column. So first number A11, the first number is row number and second number is column number. Here you see A23, 2 is the row number and 3 is the column number. So A23, that is. So how we write the elements? A11, A12, A13, A21, A22, A23. So first row, first element, first column element, first row, second column element, first row, third column element, first row, second row, first column, second row, second column, second row, third column element. So that is, so 2 definitions are given in this slide. What is that? Definition of a matrix, arrangement of numbers into rows and columns. And the second one, number of rows, number of columns present in the matrix is called order of a matrix. If a matrix contains m rows and n columns, we call it is of order m by n. We call it as m by n. Are you getting it? It is m by n, guys. Now, types of matrices. Rectangular matrix, very easy. I am going very fast also. Rectangular matrix, a matrix which in which number of rows is not equal to number of columns, is called rectangular matrix. 2 rows, 3 columns, 3 rows, 2 columns. So if number of rows and number of columns are not equal, then the shape of the matrix is in the form of rectangle. It is in the form of rectangle. That's why it is called rectangular matrix. Now coming to square matrix. A square matrix in which number of rows is equal to number of columns. So 2 rows, 2 columns, 3 rows, 3 columns. So it will look like a square. It will be, the shape of the matrix is square. That's why it is called square matrix. Are you getting? So one more point I want to tell you in this square matrix. If A is of order 2, if you say capital A is of order 2, then we say it is a order 2 means 2 rows and 2 columns equal. Both rows and columns equal. Then we say not 2 by 2. We call it as only 2. If A is of order 3, Order 3 means we won't say it is order 3 by 3, we say only order 3. If number of rows and columns are equal, we call the matrix capital A is of order 3. Order 3 means it contains 3 rows, 3 columns. That is, instead of 3 by 3, we say only 3. Instead of 2 by 2, we say only 2. Are you getting, guys? So next one, row matrix. Row matrix means it contains only one row is called a row matrix, and column matrix means it contains only one column, then we call it as a column matrix. Only one column. Null matrix or zero matrix. These null matrices are denoted by 0, O, and all elements of matrix are zeros. Then we call it as a null matrix or zero matrix. Are you getting? Row matrix only one row. Column matrix only one column. Zero matrix denoted by O, and all elements of zero matrix or null matrix are zeros. Now coming to the next one, diagonal matrix. If all elements of a matrix are zeros except the principal diagonal, then the matrix is called diagonal matrix. So what is the diagonal? Only diagonal elements. Principal diagonal elements are non-zero and all other elements are zeros. Principal diagonal elements are non-zeros and all other elements except principal diagonal, all other elements are zeros. Then we call it as a diagonal elements and diagonal matrix. What is the scalar matrix? If in a diagonal matrix, if diagonal elements equal, here it is 4 and here it is 5. If diagonal elements are equal, then we call it as a scalar matrix. In a square matrix, in a diagonal matrix, if diagonal elements are equal to 1, diagonal elements are equal to 1, we call it is unit matrix or identity matrix denoted by capital I. Denoted by capital I. I2. I2 means 2 by 2. I2 means it is a identity matrix of order 2, means identity matrix which contains 2 rows and 2 columns. I3 means it is an identity or unit matrix of order 3, that is, it contains 3 rows, 3 columns. 3 rows, 3 columns. Next one, upper triangular matrix and lower triangular matrix. If all elements below the principal diagonal are zeros, then it is called upper triangular. Getting reverse. If below elements are zeros, then we call it as upper triangular. If all lower triangular matrix, if all elements above the principal diagonal are 0, then we call it as lower triangular. Lower triangular means the above elements are 0 and upper triangular means the below elements are 0, then we call it is lower triangular and upper triangular. Are you getting? So principal diagonal, all below elements are 0, then we call it as an upper triangular. Principal diagonal, all above elements are 0, then we call it as a lower triangular matrix. So these are the types of matrices. So yesterday, due to the internet connection problem, we are unable to complete our class. So just we covered definition parts. So what we covered, let us recall what is covered. We started unit 2, the new chapter, matrices and determinants. So in matrices and determinants, first of all, what I given, matrices and determinant. First, the definition, matrix means arrangement of numbers into rows and columns. And matrices always denoted by capital letters, capital A, capital B, capital C, capital X, capital Y, capital Z, any capital letter, and they are enclosed in square brackets or open brackets, parentheses. So what is the size of matrix? Number of rows and columns present in the matrix is called size of the matrix. If a matrix contains 2 rows, 3 columns, then we say A is of order 2 by 3, 2 into 3, that is 2 by 3, read as 2 by 3, m rows and columns, m by n, we read it as m by n. And coming to the types of matrices, rectangular matrix, number of rows not equal to number of columns, square matrix, number of rows equal to number of columns, row matrix only one row, column matrix only one column, null matrix all elements are zeros, this is denoted by O. And a diagonal matrix except principal diagonal, all other elements are zeros. Scalar matrix, the diagonal matrix in which the principal diagonal elements are equal. Unit or identity matrix, the diagonal matrix in which the diagonal elements are equal to 1. This identity matrix are denoted by I. I2 means identity matrix of order 2, that is 2 rows, 2 columns. I3 means identity matrix of order 3, that is 3 rows, 3 columns. Next, upper triangular matrix, if all elements below the principal diagonal are 0, then we call it as an upper triangle. If all elements above the principal diagonal are 0, then we call it as lower triangular matrix. So these are the types of matrix, definition of matrix. Thank you all. Stay home, stay safe.